My number one fear was
Welcome to another episode of Mind Your Space, where we uncover the joy and challenges of motherhood. Now, today we're going to be talking about the fears that we had as we go into labor.
oh dear. I always say, oh dear.
And today we have none other than Shanae. Thank you so much for joining us.
Always a pleasure.
Yes. So I just want to know, because a lot of us have fears. I feel
We
like
all do.
we all do, right?
Yeah.
And so I just want to know, what are some of the fears that you had when you was going into labor?
Honestly, I had one fear.
Mm-hmm.
No. I had two fears.
Okay.
Number one was doing a C-section.
Okay.
But I studied up on C-sections, tried my best. I've done major abdominal surgery before. The recovery was awful. And
Right.
so for that reason, I didn't want to do a C-section. But I knew that if I had to, I'd be okay with it. My number one fear was dying.
True.
Yep. And like anything can happen as long as I'm alive to enjoy my baby and to still be with my husband. That was my fear, was dying.
I didn't even think about it.
You hear of moms dying in labor, and all my life I've struggled with death anxiety though. Like,
Right.
it will keep me awake at nights just thinking about what if I die, or what if somebody close to me dies.
Mm-hmm.
And so going into labor, that was it for me.
I think
Just
for
didn't
me
want to
now, I struggle with that. Like now, after having Jay, I'm like, Lord, just keep my life until you reach a certain age. Like, because I don't want to leave him.
Yeah.
I think for me, that is like a fear that I have now.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm like, oh, if I leave him, I'm like, who's going to take care of him? Even though I know he have his dad.
Yeah.
But
still, nobody can replace mommy. Nobody can replace daddy either.
And so I'm like, oh my goodness, it's just a really, like I say, you're very anxious when you start going through all these thoughts and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So that's something that I have right now, that I just pray every single day. I say, Lord, just keep us alive until Jay, reaches an age where he could function on his own.
Yeah.
And when I say function, an adult.
Yeah.
So yeah. But going into labor, I don't know if I actually had fears, or maybe I just didn't want to think about them. That kind of way. I just like block it out, because if I start thinking about it, then I feel like I would just go down.
Mm-hmm.
And I trust my doctor. Maybe I trust him too much, because
you're not the doctor. Trust me.
I am telling you, he was like, everything is gonna be fine. I had what do you call it?
Epidural?
No.
What is something name? Induction? No, when name? Induce?
Yes.
Something.
Right. So I was induced, right? Because I went over my due date, blah, blah, blah. The doctor say Saturday for me to be induced. And he's like, okay, yeah, it's like a really simple procedure. He went through it with me. And I didn't think anything of it, because I just, he's a doctor.
Yeah,
I just go with it. I was like, yeah, we're going down tonight. Friday, I'm going to be induced, and it's going to be good. Mm-mm.
Oh gosh. I actually feel sorry.
Because I didn't do my research.
Exactly.
What you wanted me to research at that point in time? Like, what could go wrong?
No.
Like
more
what?
Like, why is an induction necessary at this stage of pregnancy? I don't know. I don't know. Oh, sorry, I keep touching the mic. Yeah, because I've heard that it's normal to go up to 42 weeks, 40 weeks the pregnancy go to, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's normal to go up to 42.
Right.
But you were what?
41.
You're 41?
Yeah, I believe so. And some days, maybe.
Okay.
But I believe that is not necessary. I think our body knows best. Unless it's some emergency, that is a different. But I think a lot of doctors do it for their convenience.
Exactly.
And so at that point in time, like I say, I wasn't educated enough. It's only after, when I go through the process, I realized, what madness. Like this, I didn't, probably if I waited probably a couple days, Jay would have come out.
I think so.
Like, honestly.
Because, yeah, when you told me that you were going to get induced, in my head, I was like, no. Because we were pregnant at the same time. So I was doing a whole heap of research. And I didn't want to add to your plate by being like, Queen, don't do this. And now your friend who is not in the medical field is telling you one thing and your doctor is telling you another thing.
Right.
But in my mind, I was like, I don't think it's necessary. But I just...
And at that too, and at the point, I was just so done, Sinead. And I think that could
Yeah,
be
you
it
were
too.
ready.
I was like, oh my goodness, I need you to come out today, today. And so I didn't had fears per se. I think I pushed it back. And I was just being optimistic about everything. I'm like, yeah, it's gonna be great.
So what happened? Tell me about it. What happened?
I'm laughing now, but it was, I mean, I shared this story already on my podcast, but it was the worst pain I ever experienced in my entire life. And because of me being induced, I would never want to do that again. And I would never recommend anybody getting induced just because of my experience. Now, a lot of people might have different experience with being induced, but because the pain was so hard, and then they had the peptocin, and then they increased it to the highest level. And the pain was coming for hours, nothing.
Was it like the magnitude of it was the same? Like it just come on hard? Or it started off like small contractions?
Because they increase it. So when nothing was being, I was like, okay, they ain't seeing nothing happening. They increase it and they increase it. And this is after my water was, after they induced me and my water break, then they gave the peptocin, that's what you call it.
I don't remember. It sounds similar. I'm not sure for that.
And then, yeah, I think I was stuck at 4 to 5 centimeters for hours. And it's just pain. I don't even know how people manage. Like I say, after you go through labor, I feel like you can do anything. Like you can do anything. But at that point in time, and I definitely didn't want epidural, but at that point in time, the pain that I received for all those hours, I don't think I could go another hour. I feel like I would pass out.
Yeah.
I feel like that would be it. That is the day. And I look at the doctor, and I look at my husband, and I was like, bring the epidural. Because I couldn't with the pain. And I'm not even gonna lie to you.
Nice.
Repentance. I felt like I was sinning so bad. And after you repent, how good you feel? That was the epidural. That was the epidural. But the crazy thing is, because of the epidural, I feel like some nurses and doctors don't take into consideration your body. And because you are numb down there, they do stuff because they can't feel, and it's only after
they're
the
not
epidural.
Gentle enough, so.
And I don't think they was gentle with me enough, because they have to insert tubes for when you urinate. Well, at least for me.
Oh yeah. Because they can't get up and walk around. Right?
And so I feel they just insert it anyhow, yank it out anyhow, and so afterwards, all that was like, oh, what's going on? And so I felt all that pain. And then, because even after and I believe that the epidural kind of slowed down
labor.
Like it just, that was it. Like after the epidural, yes, it was really nice, but
I've heard that too. I don't know if it's factual, but I've definitely
I have
heard
no
that,
idea
so
if
it
it's
must be
factual.
some truth to it.
If you know, let me know. Comment down below. And after that, I'm like, okay, I did so much things, but then emergency C-section. And what's crazy is that I had to get another epidural.
Okay.
Because it was wearing off. And that another one took me out. Like, I was so drugged. And I don't even know why they asked me my name in the first place. Like, oh, can you tell me your name? Well, I can't tell you my name. I really didn't know. So what was the purpose of asking if I couldn't tell you? Like,
at what point was this? Was this during surgery?
This was before surgery. Like, they already transport me to the room, and before they cut, they were like, "Can you tell me your name?" And I just looking like them. I couldn't speak.
Oh, really?
That's how I was drugged. Like, I couldn't speak. So
like your lips heavy, or were you just?
I couldn't speak. I don't know how to explain it. I tried. I shake my head. They asked if you could. Yes, I knew my name, but I couldn't say.
You couldn't get it out. Wow.
And that's how much I was drugged. And I'm like, and yeah, like looking back at that, my fear at that point in time, I did have fear on the table. One, I had a panic attack for the first time couldn't breathe, and I thought that was it.
Because you went into labor just expecting to have a vaginal birth.
Yes.
So you did zero preparation.
None whatsoever with C-section.
Okay.
I ain't said research about C-section because that wasn't something
that was
I thought.
Just so out of your, so out of your mind.
And then having to go through all of this, and I think with the panic attack, it just make it even worse. Because I just remember I couldn't breathe, and the doctor saying, one, they asked if they wanted to put me. I was like, no, I believe if they put me to sleep, I wouldn't
wake up.
That would be it. So I was like, no, like, like I don't want to go and sleep.
Yeah,
I want to be awake while they was doing it. And so I think that was one of my fear. Like I feel like I wouldn't wake up when I was on the table though.
During it.
And I remember I just couldn't breathe. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't raise up, and I just trying to push myself. And at the time, they were already cutting me, and the doctor was like, "You can't raise up." And I fighting, and he's fighting me down, and I fighting to come up to get air because I thought if I'm up, I'm gonna get air.
Yeah.
And the only thing I could do was close my eyes and pray. Me and the Lord alone. I just closed my eyes and pray. And then Jay pop up. Well,
yeah.
And then it's a boy.
That's a story for another time.
So at that point I was like, nothing else could go wrong. Like, what else could go wrong? Like, originally my whole pregnancy I was told I was having a girl. So after going through nothing I had planned went like come true. Like every total opposite of everything. And then to top it off with G being a boy. At that point I was like, yeah, whatever. It don't really matter anymore. And I think the scariest part of that was not having control over my body. Like, even after Jay came out and they did everything and they had to lift me up, put me back on, just that feeling of not having control and somebody else doing everything for you, that was so scary. Yeah. It was one of the scariest things I ever experienced. And it had, like, I think back to persons who are unable to perform certain tasks for themselves. Like, that is their life. So how do they feel on day-to-day, and how do they deal with all those things? And so, because that is what I was feeling. Oh my goodness. So I didn't have much fear going in. I did have the fear of not waking up if they put me to sleep. And just, that was basically one of my fears.
I'm proud of you.
I'm proud of myself too. I get you that. And so now when I think back about having that experience, like going through labor again, that anxiety kicked back in. Always. It just kicked back in, and I'm like, Lord, if this is to happen, I just don't want it to be like the first time. And I know everybody's like, oh, every pregnancy different and all of this lovely thing, which is good, but it's a fear of things not going how it's supposed to go. Yeah. So that's like a big fear for me now.
So it's not even so much having to do a C-section, but just things being just completely different from what you expect.
Yeah. And I think if I probably prepared for a C-section, then it would be, it might have been smoother.
Yeah. Because you have people like, or a friend who had to go in for a scheduled C-section, and her experience was great. She was like, how did I get in a heartbeat?
Exactly. She was like, nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the fact that yours was an emergency. Yeah.
It just kind of mess up everything.
Yeah. My biggest fear, like I said, was dying. And just like you, I went into labor super optimistic. And Queen, let me tell you, say, English, when I tell you that, I studied so much about pregnancy. I put in all the preparation. And a major part of it was because I didn't want an epidural.
Okay, didn't want an epidural.
The thought of having a needle in my spine and just, yes, I know that it's safe for most women. Most women walk away and have a positive experience with it. But I'm always like, what if? What if I'm that small percentage of women who just get messed up by an epidural? And so my fear of having an epidural led to me preparing for a natural birth.
Right.
Or an unmedicated birth. And so I went into labor And my labor story was just like the regular labor story, the textbook labor story. I woke up and I started feeling contractions. I wasn't sure what it was, but figured out it was contractions, and it started getting worse and worse and worse and worse and worse until I said, okay, Kyle, time for you to come home from work and be with me. And he came home. Anyways, fast forward, got to the hospital, and geez, it was a textbook experience. Not gonna lie, Queen, it was on so many levels. I remember researching, and they said that once you reach about 7 centimeters dilated, things move really fast. So just hold out for the 7, because you know the nurse or the doctor comes and check you quite often. So they're like, just hold out for the 7, and once you reach 7, just know that it's coming soon. And that's exactly what happened to me. Like, my doctor came in and he was like, okay, you're about 7, 7.5. And about half an hour later, he was like, you're ready to push. And my water didn't break naturally. And so I wasn't feeling a strong urge to push. So he's like, what we can do is wait for it to break naturally, or we can break it. But if we break it, the pain is going to intensify. So you decide. So I'm like, if I wait, then it's more time feeling pain. So I might as well just hit me with the pain now and move along faster. And so he broke my water. Shortly after, I started feeling the urge to push. And I was pushing for maybe an hour and a half total before Miles came. Luckily, I did my research and I knew that it's normal for first-time mothers to push to up to 4 hours.
Right, yeah.
But Kyle didn't know that. My husband didn't know that. And so while I was pushing and pushing and pushing and nothing was happening, he was worried. Because this whole time I'm crying and I'm saying, I don't think I can do this. Queen, your body just feels like it's given everything it can give. Like, I've never felt so weak in my entire life. So I'm pushing and pushing and pushing. No, baby. And luckily, I had it in my head that it's normal. And so I knew that what I was doing was okay. As hard as it was, it didn't mean that the baby wasn't coming or something was wrong. But because of how weak I felt, there were probably 2 times or 1 time where I felt like this was it, or this might be it. Because I'm like, this baby has to come out. Well, I guess you have C-section, but I'm like, this baby has to come out, but nothing is happening, and I don't have any more energy to push this baby out. I feel like I'm going to collapse. That's how weak I was. And I had your previous, well, not previous, but one of your previous guests called it birthquakes.
Right.
I had that after giving birth to my son, because your body has been through so much that your body's in such shock that you just shake uncontrollably. And so luckily I survived it and I got to see my son. And it's just such a magical thing. It's like once your baby comes out of you, the pain just disappears. It's just, the contractions just go. And yes, probably downstairs you're hurting, but because that pain is nothing compared to the contractions, it's like you feel so light. You get to embrace your baby and celebrate with your husband and the rest of the family or friends. But in the moment, for sure, I definitely had a thought or two that maybe this could be it.
I think a lot of mothers go through that, I guess, close to death experience where they think, all right, there's it. We just think like, okay, there's it. And so now I tell people, boy, I feel like I faced death. That's the experience I had. A lot of mothers have a lot of fear out there, but I know if you prepare, because a lot of times, like, you prepare for labor, but I really recommend preparing for
a C-section as well.
No, not just a C-section, but I'm talking about after.
Oh, okay.
Like the after giving, like,
oh yeah,
I believe giving birth is like really hard, but then there's after, like that first 6 months, postpartum. So yes, having that fear, but I feel like nobody fear postpartum.
Yeah, you don't really talk. It's like get the baby and that's good.
And that's it, right? And nobody fear postpartum until you're actually in it and you experience it, and it's like, whoa.
Yeah.
And so my advice to you, yes, there's a lot of fears going into giving birth, and I guess one of those fears are actually dying. That's a common fear. But please also just remember, as much preparation you put into that, put it into postpartum.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
So that is my advice to any mom out there who is getting ready to give birth. Yes, put the preparation into giving birth, but also put the preparation into postpartum.
Postpartum.
And that is baby boy. And with that, thank you so much for watching. Remember to like, subscribe, leave a comment down below, because that's how other moms find our channel. Thank you again, and remember to mind your space.